everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Blame It on the Stars, where we give you an inside look to what's going on in the universe so you can blame your problems on the stars. It is Jade here.
And it's Kara.
And today we'll be talking all about Mercury Returns. This is the first bonus episode in our new series that's all about Planetary Returns. So why this new series? We get a lot of questions frequently about all types of planetary returns, from Mercury returns to Mars returns, Saturn returns, and pretty much all of them. So we wanted to make this new series to answer your most asked questions about planetary returns.
And if you're listening to this wondering when we will be doing an episode on Venus returns or Saturn returns, don't worry. We will be coming out with more episodes in this series for all of the planets. So subscribe so that you don't miss when we release those episodes.
And after a short ad break, we're going to get right into it. So what exactly is your Mercury return? It's a time in your life where you experience new beginnings when it comes to communication and ideas.
Your Mercury return marks a new cycle in your thinking and communication. This happens when Mercury is in the same sign as it was in at the time that you were born. So if your Mercury is in Aries, your Mercury return happens once Mercury in transit in the sky in real time enters Aries.
So some astrologers believe that your Mercury return starts when Mercury enters the same sign that it is in your birth chart. Others believe that your Mercury return happens only when it gets to the exact degree that your natal Mercury is in. We're going to talk about both, but the way I like to think of it is your Mercury return does happen that whole time Mercury's in the same sign as your natal Mercury, but when Mercury is at the exact same degree as your natal Mercury, it is conjunct, aka you're experiencing the most intense part of the return where the energy is most amplified. The way I like to think of this is if you think of a car that's playing loud music driving down your street. The moment that car enters your street and you can hear the music in the distance, that's the start of the return. And obviously, as the car gets closer to where you live, the music gets louder and louder and louder. When it's exactly in front of your house, you hear it the loudest. That's the conjunction part of your return, when the planet is at the same degree as your natal Mercury. And then as the car drives away, it gets less intense. And then when it turns off your street, it's officially out of that sign and your Mercury return is over, if that helps to understand what's going on during that transit.
So how often does your Mercury return happen? You will experience a Mercury return once every single year. Typically, it does happen around your birthday. However, depending on the year, it could be a little bit before or a little bit after.
And how long does your Mercury return last? Usually it's around 2 weeks unless there is a retrograde. So this year in 2023, we had a Mercury retrograde in Taurus. Those who had a natal Mercury in Taurus experienced a much longer Mercury return than the rest of us.
So what can you expect during your Mercury return? You will notice a lot of activity going on in your thinking and communication. You might find that you are really open to new ideas, seeking new ideas, wanting to spend time with others and process your thoughts and experiences with others verbally, or even sometimes, depending on where this is happening in your chart, through writing, journaling, things like that.
So since Mercury is the planet of communication, typically you find during your Mercury return, you are thinking much clearer, and you're also really focused on learning and getting new insight, whether that be through reading or through podcasts. And since during your Mercury return, Mercury is in the same sign that it is in your chart, you might notice that the people around you in your life are starting to, for that period of time, communicate in a way that feels very natural to you as they experience the transit. Now, it would be too much for us to go through and explain what every single Mercury return through every sign is like. So we thought we would just break it down into the elements since we are going to go through all of the houses in a moment anyway. If you have your Mercury in a fire sign, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, you can experience your Mercury return to really enhance the passion and bravery that you experience in your day-to-day life due to that fire Mercury you have.
If you have your Mercury in an earth sign, so that is Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, then your Mercury return is going to be focused on practicality, stability, and tangible results in your thinking and communication. You also might feel a little bit more grounded because of the earth energy and efficient in your conversations and decision making.
If you have Mercury in an air sign, meaning your Mercury is in Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, then you'll find that your Mercury return really enhances your intellect and your curiosity. You might find that ideas are flowing very easily, you're networking more, and overall, you might feel a little bit more social than usual too.
If you have Mercury in a water sign, that would be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, then your Mercury return is focused on embracing your emotional intelligence and creativity. You might notice that you are more connected with your inner self and that your intuition is very strong during this time.
Now, let's go through Mercury returns through the houses. Before we start listing what you can expect, it can be helpful to know what house your natal Mercury is in, so that way you know what to look for when you're listening. So if you have natal Mercury in the first house, your Mercury return in the first house will be emphasizing your ability to really express yourself and communicate your personal values outwardly to the world.
If your natal Mercury is in the second house, then your Mercury return in the second house will be focused on practical and financial matters in your thinking and communication. What this means is that you might be more focused on your personal values, possessions, and resources, which may include your finances, budgeting, things like that. Or it could also just be things that are really important to you in your life, whether that is physical or a more intangible value.
If you have your natal Mercury in the third house, then your third house Mercury return is really emphasizing your natural ability to learn and gather information. If you also find that you are writing a lot more during this time, taking short trips, or interacting with siblings or neighbors, that's also to be expected, as that is part of your nature as a third house Mercury.
If you have your natal Mercury in the fourth house, then your Mercury return in the fourth house will be focused on your home, family, and emotional self. You might find that you are communicating more openly with others in your household, that you are reflecting on your past experiences, or interested in creating a more harmonious and comfortable living space.
If your natal Mercury is in the fifth house, then your fifth house Mercury return is all about enhancing your natural creative abilities. If you also find that you're more focused on your hobbies, socializing, having fun, or even creative writing or performing arts becomes really interesting, it's all emphasizing the nature of your natal fifth house Mercury.
If your natal Mercury is in the sixth house, then your Mercury return in the sixth house will be a period of time that's focused on communication, organization, and your daily routines. You might find that you're more detail oriented, practical in problem solving, and reflecting on your work-life balance or other health-related goals.
If you have a natal Mercury in the seventh house, then your seventh house Mercury return is all about how you communicate with others. You might be more focused on collaboration, potentially negotiation, or just socializing in general, since the seventh house is all about how we relate to others.
If your natal Mercury is in the eighth house, then you will be focused on healing and transformation. This could be a very important time of self-reflection. However, the eighth house can also deal with shared resources and other financial topics such as loans, credit, and mortgages.
If you have your Mercury in the ninth house, then your ninth house Mercury return is all about emphasizing your desire to seek meaning and purpose in the world. If you find that there's more of a focus on travel, philosophy, or even higher education, those topics might come up during that time since it's emphasizing the nature of your ninth house Mercury.
If your natal Mercury is in the 10th house, then your Mercury return in the 10th house will be a period of time where your communication, thinking, and career goals are aligned. During this time, you will be more focused on your professional goals. You might notice that your conversations at work are going more smoothly and that you are strategic as you are working towards the next steps in your career.
If your natal Mercury is in the 11th house, then your 11th house Mercury return is all about how you communicate in groups, how you collaborate in groups. Also, topics like networking, social media, community involvement all might come up during that time. You also might be a little bit more focused on your goals, as those are all 11th house topics.
If your natal Mercury is in the 12th house, then your 12th house Mercury return will be all about introspection and spiritual reflection. Your intuition might be heightened during this time. You might have more of a desire to be alone as you're reflecting on life and your experiences.
Now, something I just want to add is that your Mercury return is very personal to you. And what I mean by that is if you look at your birth chart and you notice that your natal Mercury also has a lot of aspects to other planets, those aspects do get emphasized during the Mercury return, which could change things up quite a bit. So if you have, for example, Mercury square Neptune, Mercury conjunct Saturn, those are obviously very different experiences, different energies that will make your Mercury return unique to you. And we would be here forever if we went through every possible aspect Mercury could have and what that could mean. But if you're curious to know more about your Mercury return and what you can expect during it, then this is your reminder. We offer readings. Readings are a great way for us to pull up your chart, look at exactly what's going on, and answer any specific questions you might have, whether they be about your Mercury return or anything else in astrology. Our readings can go for as short as 15 minutes to as long as 1 hour. You decide what you want to talk about. There are live readings hosted on an app called Intro. When you go to book the reading, there's a slot where you can type in your questions and we can answer them on the call face to face.
And if you've never booked a reading with us before, then you can use the code STARS, all caps STARS, for $20 off your first reading.
Now, I don't know when exactly you're listening to this, but if you are thinking about booking a reading, I just wanted to let you know that personally, I will be having very limited availability throughout June, and I won't be taking readings for the first half of July. So if you were thinking about booking a reading with me in the short term, definitely just wanted to let you know there are limited slots available. I will have more to come in August, but just wanted to throw that out there if you go to book a reading and you notice that my availability is different. But nonetheless, we'll still be here every week. If you want to stay in the loop with us and what's to come, make sure you're following us on social media. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at BLME The Stars. That's all for now for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.